Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to my tier list for planes. Long awaited, long anticipated. Many people have been asking for this. So let's jump into it. But before I do want to quickly mention, guys, we're going to be rating these things based on the campaigns that they exist within. An IL-2 might not perform very well compared to a P-47, but they exist within different campaigns. And so we kind of have to keep that in mind as we rate these vehicles. Also, keep in mind that there are a million variants of BF-109s or BF-110s and all these different planes in the game. I'm not going to be rating each of those individually. I grabbed a couple of them that I think are notable, kind of in early, mid, and late War One, and I'll talk about those. And just keep in mind that these planes are generally speaking very similar, and so wherever they're rated, the other ones are going to be rated in basically the same spot as well. And lastly, also keep in mind that, we have fighters and we have bombers. These planes are going to be rated based on what their intended role is and if they can be kind of that dual purpose role, right? So like, I'm not going to be rating a fighter on its capabilities on destroying ground targets because that's not the point of it, right? If it is dual purpose, then that's great, but just keep that in mind as we go through this. And remember, guys, you can always follow me, twitch.tv/aquadro. Support me over there. I'd love to have you guys over there hanging out and chatting about this kind of stuff. So we're going to start off with the A20. Which I think is a pretty solidly B tier plane. It's got a couple bombs. It's got, decent payload. You compare it to other bombers in the game, and it does all right, right? It's not as good as, say, a P-47. It's not as bad as something like, IL-210 or IL-10, right? There's definitely worse things in the game, and there's definitely better things. So I think it's pretty solidly B tier. Beaufighter is the pinnacle of, at least currently, the pinnacle of the attacker planes, or I guess fighter planes, God forbid, in Tunisia. This is a ridiculous plane. The fact this thing's a fighter is kind of painful. I think it is classified as a fighter in game, correct? And it's just kind of insane. I mean, this thing has unlimited ammo, essentially. I think you can actually, from when you spawn, if you hold down fire, then you will actually not run out of ammo before you return back, including doing a bombing run. This thing just has unlimited ammo, essentially, and has big rockets, does just insane amounts of damage, in my opinion. You can fire the rockets from really far away and then rearm. There's a lot of cheeky stuff you can do with the Beaufighter, so very, very good plane. Its biggest drawback is that it is not super maneuverable, but it's also freaking heavy and tough as hell, so this thing is going to be able to take on just about anything that the Axis throw at them in Tunisia, at least for now. BF-109 G10, so we're getting to our 3 BF-109 variants. I really like the G10. I love this plane. This is my go-to fighter in Normandy for the Axis. This has very good capabilities in the air. It's maneuverable. It's fast. It's got great climbing. You can beat out most planes. Not all of them, right? Like a P-38 is going to give you a run for their money if it's a good pilot. But you can take on P-47s, you can take on A20s, you can take on most fighters. P-51s will kick your ass. But overall, guys, this thing can go toe-to-toe with the best of them, and it's got good cannons, which is an important thing for a lot of the planes in Enlisted, because you need those cannons to be able to do damage, because Enlisted, it's just so hard to hit enemy planes because of the server desync and then the damage models and things. So you need those cannons to do some damage. So I've gone on some crazy kill streaks with the 109. And if there's no planes in the air, you can do some decent strafing as well. So great plane. BF-109 G6, again, it's a 109. It's just got less guns on it. This is okay in the early war campaigns, but once you start getting into Normandy and stuff, this thing really lacks the firepower to be able to go toe-to-toe with some of the other planes in the game. BF-109 K4, we're going to throw up an A tier as well. This is in Berlin. It's got a 30mm cannon on it, which is pretty nice. Very good, again, for taking out enemy planes. Decided I would throw that on there as well. I think it loses some speed compared to the G10, but regardless, it's still a pretty solid plane. BF-110C7 is either C tier or low B tier. I think we'll throw in B tier for now. It's got two 250 kg bombs, but it's slow as hell, and a lot of the times I feel like I would just rather be using a Stuka, because this thing just isn't as good at dive bombing as something like a Stuka, and so I just feel like I would rather have a Stuka in a lot of the situations that I use this thing. I think it's in Moscow, and I know it's in Tunisia because it's opposite the Beaufighter. So I'd really prefer to have a Stuka most of the time, to be completely honest with you guys. There you go. BF-110G2, we're going to put an S tier. It might be a low or a high A tier, but we're going to put an S tier for now. This is an amazing plane. The rockets kick ass. The giant 30mm cannon on it is insane. Very, very good plane. The C.202EC, we're going to put in C tier. I've had a lot of people just swear by this plane and say how good it is, but I can't use it. I've never found success with it. I've seen some people do some dirty stuff with it, but I don't know. It's just never. I've personally never been able to make it work. And the people who I have seen make it work, I'm pretty sure could do the exact same thing, if not more effectively, with other fighters in the game. So I'm going to drop that down to C tier. FW-19D12. There's a couple different FW-190 variants. Some of them have rockets, some of them have bombs. We're going to put this decidedly in B tier. Historically speaking, the FW-190 was a very, very good plane, but it just doesn't fly very well in Enlisted. It has that weird thing where it drifts to the left. It doesn't turn as effectively as other planes. It's got really good roll rate, which I've been told, or something like that. Again, guys, I don't have a PhD in War Thunder. It's got really good roll rate, apparently, which can do some nasty stuff with. But at the end of the day, are you really going to take a 190 over like a G10? Right? I've never been able to make this work as effectively as the 109 G10. So that's kind of where I'm going to be placing that. The HS-123, it's a biplane. It's got no armor, no guns, it's slow as hell. You can do some cheeky stuff with the turn rate, but whatever. Hurricane is more like the Hurricant. Got a bunch of guns on it that are tiny and just plink away at stuff like SBDs. You're just not going to do a whole lot with this thing. The Hurricane historically was a plane that did some heavy lifting and did some lifting and did what it needed to do when it was called upon, but there's a reason the Spitfire came around. It was showing his age at the start of the war, let alone later in the war. The I-153, again, it's a biplane. The IAR-81C's got some good 20mm cannons on it. It's got good maneuverability. It is a solid Romanian plane. It arguably is A tier. I think I'm going to put it high B tier. I think I'd use this over a G6 for sure. It's very maneuverable. I wish this plane was in other campaigns. I'd use it a lot more, honestly. IL-237, we're going to drop down into D tier. It's going to go above these. This thing's biggest problem is that strafing in Enlisted is not very good, and being able to take out tanks with your main cannons is just not really that reliable or effective. And it's also in Berlin only, where you're trying to fly basically a brick, because it's an IL-2, it flies like a brick. You're trying to fly a brick down into city streets and strafe targets of like tanks and infantry targets of opportunity. You're just never going to be able to do it effectively. I don't know why you'd ever use this plane over something like the IL-2M. IL-2 1941 is C tier. I don't know what the hell you guys are smoking. I don't know why I see these Reddit posts and forum posts complaining about this plane, talking about how amazing this plane is. I don't know if you guys are just taking some straight copium injections to the veins. I do not know what the hell you guys are talking about. This plane doesn't ever work for me. I truly don't know. It doesn't have that many bombs. Its rockets suck. Yeah, its rockets can take out like a Panzer II, but like, so can anything else in the game. Like, I don't know. I see so many people complaining about this all of the damn time, and I truly do not know why anyone talks about this plane as if it is the most amazing plane, and it is just like wiping out entire, battalions and just ruining games the way the P-47 or something does, because I just don't see it. Historically speaking, IL-2, one of the most important planes in all of history, arguably the most important, but not in Enlisted. This 1941 IL-2 is just not that good. IL-2M, we're going to put an S tier. Very good plane. Well, maybe A tier. Actually, A tier. I think A tier. High A tier. It's a great plane. Very, very good plane. I like it a lot. But it's got those rockets. It's got the guns. It's got the bombs. The rockets are really the big thing. It's got bigger rockets than, say, the IL-2 1941. Good thing. IL-10's got a decent little payload. Better than this. I guess we kind of have to put it in B tier because it's got the same payload as like the 110s and the A20. So it's all right. Well, actually, no. We're going to put it in C tier. It's going to be high C tier. And the reason for that is it's in Berlin. And if it's in Berlin, why are you not using the IL-2M? And if it's in Berlin, you're flying a brick through city streets, and it just doesn't seem like it's actually that good of a plane. So we're putting it down here in C tier. 188 is S tier. That's easy. I mean, it's got 6 250 kg bombs, guys. It's literally a strategic bomber. Yeah. Stuka is it's B tier. Good. Great dive bomber. I mean, it's a Stuka, right? Arguably it's A tier. Maybe it deserves to be A tier. Maybe. But we're gonna put it B tier. It's really good, and it's cousin with the bigger bomb, also very good. These are arguably A tier. We'll see about maybe moving them towards the end. LA5FN, nah. I think this is just C tier, just for the single reason that the LA7 is better than it, and you'd rather just use the LA7. Arguably, this should be up here, actually. I think I will put it up there. I think the LA7's really good. I like it a lot. It's my go-to fighter plane in Berlin Allies. Yeah, we're gonna put it up. We're gonna put it up there. The LA5FN. It doesn't have. It's maneuverable. Yeah, it's got good speed. Yeah, kind of. It just doesn't really. I mean, whenever we start getting even bigger planes and better planes in Berlin, again, Berlin planes are just not that good because nobody flies in that campaign. ME410. Yeah, I don't like this plane. I think the biggest thing about the 410, the ME410, is why would you use it over like a 188 or even a Stuka? You definitely aren't going to use it in Normandy because you're going to use this over the 188? No way. It's got 6 bombs on it, but 188. Does it have 6 bombs? 4 bombs. Rockets? I can't even remember. It's C tier. Not as good. Use the JU-188. The MiG-3, C tier. Great plane, great maneuverability, good speed, all that good stuff. It has no ammo. Has so little ammo. I don't know why they haven't updated the ammo count of this thing. Why, I feel like other planes have just like so much ammo compared to this thing. And I'm just always running out of ammo in it. So P-38. Anybody that knows me, anybody that watches my stream and hears me talk about this plane, P-38 is my favorite plane in Enlisted. I think it is easy S tier. Arguably, I think this thing is arguably the best plane in Enlisted. I would put this toe-to-toe with the P-47. I think that the P-47 and the P-38 are the best 2 planes in Enlisted for their respective roles. I think the P-38 is the best fighter. I think the P-47 is the best attacker. I think the Normandy allies have complete air superiority when it comes to this stuff. The P-30, it's incredibly maneuverable. It will dogfight any plane in the game and come out on top. It has the M8 rockets, which are unbelievably accurate and will take out any tank in the game. I've gone on bombing runs that I've taken out 2 tanks in one single dive. I've taken out 3 planes before having to rearm. These rockets are insane. They have no dispersion. They're on the fuselage, right under the cockpit. They're ridiculous. I don't know. I truly cannot overstate this plane. I think that it is absolutely amazing. I think it's arguably the best plane. It's certainly the best fighter, in my opinion, in the game. P-40, it's got good payload. It lacks firepower. And when you're in Stalingrad, you need firepower to take out bombing runs. And it really lacks that firepower that you need. But it's got good bombs on it, so that's kind of nice. P-47D, obviously D tier. Obviously S tier. I already mentioned it. It's the P-47. 10 H-bars, a 500-pound bomb, good firepower, or amazing firepower for ground targets. And then it's still got the 50 cals. 50 cals aren't that great in Enlisted. They do work, right? The P-38 is obviously the better fighter, but the P-47, it can hold its own in the air if you can get up on people. You're going to get beat by stuff like BF-109s, but at the end of the day, the P-47, while it is an unbelievably ugly plane and it is heavy as hell, it's the P-47. It's the saving grace. It's been carrying the Normandy allies for the past 6 months. So past year really. P-51D, historically speaking, the P-51 is just an unbelievable plane. Arguably won the war in a lot of ways, at least for the Western allies. We won't get into that. But amazing plane, but not an Enlisted. I don't know why you'd use the P51D over the P38. The P38 is, in my opinion, just better. P51D does have some bombs on it, which is nice, but it's only got 50 cals, and while it does have a lot of them, it can do a lot of damage with those 50 cals. You're just better off using a P38, right? And it's a high altitude fighter, from what I understand. It performs a lot better higher in the air, and fights for Enlisted just don't happen that high in the air, right? They tend to happen pretty low altitudes, and so it just doesn't really do that well, in my opinion. PE231 and the PE3 we're going to put solidly B tier. These things have a bunch of bombs, but I feel like I never really make them work. But I think they have a lot of potential. They're just, for some reason, I've never been able to get them to work. They've got 600 kg bombs each, and they're very heavily defended with lots of guns on them. Lots of, you know, if you can fill out those seats with a bunch of gunners, these things are flying fortresses essentially. Potez, D tier. Not very good. It's got like 200-pound bombs, I think. It's like a little dinky French bomber. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really haven't used this plane this much. I saw this plane and I was like, why would I ever use this thing? I'm just gonna use a Stuka. RE2000 is a fun little plane. It turns on a dime. It's very light. It's very quick. But it's really slow. Honestly, it doesn't have a very high top speed. And if you're going up against stuff like Spitfires, right, this can duel out like a Hurricane. But when you're going up against, you know, SVDs that have a lot of 50 cals and have those rear gunners, you know, the small caliber guns on this thing, or if you're going up against a Spitfire, God forbid, I mean, you're just going to get destroyed. You can't fight stuff like that, and you're not going to be able to win those fights. SB2M is going to go with the PE2 and the PE3. The SBD Dauntless is going to be an A tier plane. Big old 1,000-pound bomb and some 50-pound bombs, I think. 100-pound bombs. Whatever it is to boot. Great plane. Makes a lot of people mad in Tunisia. Excellent. Spitfire is B tier. Arguably A tier. Maybe it is A tier. I haven't used it a lot, I'll admit. I haven't used it a lot since planes have kind of been fixed a little bit since the latest update for planes. I think we will tentatively put it in A tier. Its cannons kind of struggle a lot of the time, but they are 20 millimeters, which means they should do fairly well. Now I have a lot of success with other 20 millimeter cannon planes, so I think the Spitfire should be doing a lot better nowadays. The Su-2, it's a little light bomber in Stalingrad. It's got some 100 kgs on it, but it's slow as all hell. And you're trying to bomb in Stalingrad. It's got the same problem that stuff like the IL-10 have. So I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to put it here in C tier. Yak 7B, not really that good. Again, it's a Stalingrad plane. I think you're better off, if you really want to be fighting in the air, I think you're better off using other planes in Stalingrad, like the Yak 3, I think, is in Stalingrad. Regardless, there's better choices, like the P40 even. So, Yak 1, I'm going to put an A tier. I think I'm a little biased here. This is my favorite little plane in Moscow Allies. This is what I used to fly all the time when planes were invincible and when planes were really buffed, and I had to do a lot of air patrols against Stukas and things like that. So I have a lot of love for the Yak 1. It is a maneuverable little bugger. It's got decent firepower with the 20 millimeters, and he's got it's a good plane. It really does well. I still use this to this day as my Moscow Allies plane if I got some Stukas in the air to take down. Yak 3, probably up here in A tier along with the Yak 1. Great plane. Honestly, all the Yaks are really good. We're just going to throw them all up here. Arguably, the Yak 3 maybe is down here because the Yak 3 in its campaigns are not as effective. But we'll keep it up here in A tier. You can see there's a lot of Russian planes up here now that I look at it. What does the Yak 3 have? Again, it's in this campaign, right? Stalingrad. Is it in Stalingrad, guys? I don't know where it is. Berlin, maybe? Gotta be in Berlin. Yeah, there it is. It's only got the 20 mils. Yeah, it's not that good. It's not that good, guys. I'm gonna keep it down here. We're gonna put it down here in B tier. It lacks the firepower in Berlin. I don't know. That's a weird one. That's a weird one to rate. Maybe it does deserve to be up in A tier. The Yak 9T definitely should be in A tier. The reason for that is that while it is a little bit slower, it has that big 37 millimeter cannon, which if you hit a shot on an enemy plane, it's gone. It's just pieces, and that alone makes the plane pretty valuable to use. But that's it, guys. That's my tier list. What do you guys think about this? You guys think that I'm on the nose with this one, or you guys think that I'm off base? Let me know in the comments down below. By the way, this is probably what S tier looks like. Probably like that. There you go. Let me know in the comments down below, guys. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree? Where do you guys think I messed up here? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. There's always good discussion on these videos, so definitely let me know down in the comments below, guys. And without anything else, remember, join our community Discord. Follow me on twitch.tv/HeyQuadro. And I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.